Okay, we are back with another installment of connecting your math to your kids' math. In part three, we are going to talk about composing and decomposing numbers. To compose means to create. Okay, arrange parts to form a whole. In kindergarten and first grade, they spend a lot of time using what's called a part whole model, figuring out the parts that make up the whole. All right, decompose just means to break down. All right, so when we're talking about composing and decomposing numbers, we're talking about creating numbers, making numbers, and then breaking those numbers apart, breaking them down into their pieces. But this is so important because a student's ability to compose and decompose numbers is key in establishing a strong sense of number for that student. A complaint that I hear often in schools is that kids just don't have number sense. All right, we talk about common sense. Well, in math, we talk about number sense. It's those things that we just kind of take for granted about numbers that students know, and we have to expose them to opportunities to explore numbers. All right, and that's what we do when we're composing and decomposing numbers. What makes a 6? Well, 3 plus 3, that makes a 6. Yes, it does. 5 plus 1, that makes a 6. We're composing 6. 2 plus 4 makes 6. Also, take it a step further with your student. 2 plus 2 plus 2, that's another way of making a 6. So composing the 6, making the 6, that's just language that we use in our elementary classrooms. All right. In kindergarten and first grade, a lot of time is going to be spent on composing tens. How do you make tens? 9 and 1, 8 and 2, 7 and 3, 6 and 4, 5 and 5. All of those make 10. They are often referred to as 10 friends. I hear kindergarten and first grade teachers talking about, you need to know your 10 friends, and they do need to know their 10 friends. You're exactly right. And I kind of like that language, 10 friends, because in upper elementary, I often use the term friendly numbers, just meaning that it's a number that's easy to work with, and the multiples of 10 are very easy to work with. And so that language kind of tracks on through upper elementary school. All right. When they get to second grade, they'll think more about making 20s, just those combinations that make 20, and also connecting those 10 friends to making hundreds. So what I mean by that is if a student knows 2 and 8 equals 10, well, they should be able to connect that 2 10s and 8 10s, that's going to be 10 10s. So 20 plus 80 is 100. So that connection starts happening in second grade, connecting what they learned with about 10 friends in the lower grades to hundreds. All right, so how might your student use composing and decomposing numbers? How does this look in action? And I think this is probably going to be something that you may do naturally, but you can lead your student to this so that they can, have some good number sense. All right, so let's take 18 plus 6. Now let's go back to what makes 6, because we're going to use that to solve this one. All right, if I know that 6 is a 2 and a 4, then what I can do is I can decompose the 6 into 2 and 4. That lets me compose a multiple of 10, a friendly number. And now I've got 20 plus 4, which is 24. 18 plus 6 equals 24. All right, now you're like, what did you just do? All right, when I learned 18 plus 6, I probably counted I started 18 and I said 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and I got to 6 that way. And even as an adult, sometimes I would need, you may hear me tapping my fingers on this desk, I would need to tap my fingers. But what I've done as an adult is I've trained myself to look for ways to break the number apart. And so now I can see that 6 and be like, oh, let's put that 2 of the 6 with the 18 to make that friendly number. And now I can solve that in my head without having to tap my fingers on the desk. We can even use composing and decomposing numbers with multiplication. All right, 6 times 8. This is one that kids often struggle with, okay, because there's a little clump in there with the 6s and the 7s and the 8s that are just hard. So what we can do is we can use decomposing numbers. Let's use this fact, our knowledge that 6 is made of a 5 and a 1, okay? And the reason we want to do that is because most all kids know their 5s, okay? And if they don't know their 5s, they can skip count quickly to get to 5 times 8 is 40. And then what you can do is multiply 1 times 8 and get 8, and then put those back together to get 48. So we decompose the 6 and then we put it back together to get 48. And some of you are saying, that's too much trouble. They just need to know 6 times 8 is 48. And you're not wrong. They do need to know 6 times 8 is 48. But you understanding this process helps 6 times 8 makes sense for the student. And by doing that, it's going to give them a better reference other than just a 6 and an 8 on a flashcard, and that equals 48. It gives some context to this problem, and in the long run, will stay with the student more than just rote memorization. And we'll talk about memorizing and automaticity and all those kinds of things in a later video. All right, so I hope this helped you understand your kids' math so that you're able to better help them with their homework.